The water around it was crystal clear, but inside it had been submerged for a long time. The yacht was colossal, 3 stories, Italian finish, marble floors, suite with panoramic views, helipad, such absurd luxury that it looked like a scene from a movie. And it was, but not a movie about success. It was a movie about oblivion. His name was Derek Collins. Businessman, billionaire, son of factory workers. At 44, he sailed the Mediterranean as if he owed nothing to anyone. But he did. At the boat's launch party, with French champagne and guests who barely knew each other, someone asked a simple question. "What about Matthew, your brother? Is he coming?" Derek froze, not because of the name, but because for a second he couldn't say who Matthew was. It was his brother's name, his only brother, his only childhood friend, the only one who saw him cry when his father died. But at that moment, it was just a distant echo. If you've strayed so far that you've forgotten who held your hand in the beginning, tell me, what did you trade for success? Matthew and Derek had been inseparable as children. 2 boys from a simple neighborhood, sharing the same room, the same pillow, the same dream of being someone. Matthew was the quieter one. Derek was the more ambitious. They built sandcastles together, swore never to part, made promises under stars that neither of them really understood. But as the years went by, Derek's choices shaped a path where Matthew no longer fit. When Derek started his first company, Matthew helped. He made deliveries in an old car, took care of the spreadsheets, answered the phone, but he didn't want the spotlight. He just wanted to be close. That's exactly where the rift began. Matthew was the anchor. Derek wanted to fly. And when the investors came, with their starched clothes and calculated smiles, Matthew seemed too rude, too simple, an invisible break. Derek never said it with words, but he said it with silences, with invitations not sent, with trips without warning, with meetings where Matthew was just a forgotten name. Years later, the older brother became a ghost, the kind of memory that feels uncomfortable at fancy parties and in perfect photos. Success didn't take Matthew away. It was Derek who stopped looking back. On that yacht, surrounded by empty people with full glasses, he realized he was the richest man at the party, and the most orphaned too. Matthew never asked for anything, not even when Derek started appearing on TV, not even when he founded his 3rd company, not even when he left the country. He only called from time to time. He sent simple messages. He asked about his mother. He said he was fine. And Derek responded with emojis, sometimes with "let's get together," and then forgot. Not out of malice, but because, deep down, he had come to think of his brother as an uncomfortable reminder of a past he wanted to forget. One of those messages, years later, arrived in the middle of a meeting. "I saw your interview today. Dad would be proud." Derek saw it, but he didn't reply. He was busy with the new investment fund, with invitations to Davos, with wine labels he couldn't even pronounce. Until one day, in the middle of the night, the phone rang. It was a landline number, unknown. On the other end of the line, a voice said, "Matthew had a heart attack. He didn't make it." Derek couldn't say anything. The name, the one he couldn't remember on the yacht, now hurt like a punch to the gut. And it was only then that he understood. He spent years forgetting his brother, and now he would have all eternity to remember. Because certain absences don't send a message. They simply decide never to return. The funeral was simple. A small chapel, discreet flowers, few people. Matthew never liked crowds. Derek arrived late, in an impeccable black suit, eyes hidden behind dark glasses, a rehearsed silence. He seemed more like a shareholder paying his respects than a brother in mourning. It wasn't out of coldness, it was out of fear. Fear of facing what he had let die before the real death happened. Fear of hearing what the eyes of others would say without words. You arrived late, again. On the table of memories, a box with childhood photos. 2 children with dirty feet, smiling with melting ice cream in their hands. A handwritten letter, undated, in simple handwriting. "If one day you remember who I am, I'll be here." Because siblings don't need to be the same. They just need not to forget. Derek read it, and for the first time, he broke down. It wasn't a pretty cry. It was suffocated, desperate, choked, as if trying to expel years of absence all at once. Outside the chapel, no one recognized him. There, he wasn't a billionaire. He was just a man who had lost something that no amount of money can buy back. When you forget where you came from, the top of the world becomes the loneliest place to be. On the way home, the yacht was docked, waiting for him. But Derek didn't board. He sat on the dock and stared at the sea, like someone searching for a reflection that no longer exists. In the days that followed, Derek tried to resume his routine. Meetings, contracts, interviews, but everything sounded distant, artificial, as if he had returned to a stage after forgetting his lines. The house was full of works of art, but none of them had value now. The sound of silence was so loud that it woke him up in the middle of the night, without knowing where he was. One day, he went into his office and opened a forgotten drawer. Inside, an old Walkman. Matthew loved recording tapes. He made mixtapes with songs that nobody knew and left funny messages between tracks. Derek put on the headphones. His brother's voice, recorded decades ago, began to play. "Hey Derek, if you're listening to this in the future, remember that we're still on the same team, okay?" It was a childhood joke, but at that moment it sounded like a cry for help. He realized then that it wasn't the millions that distanced him most, it was the absence of everything that was true before the money arrived. That same week, he canceled a $1 billion investment. He sold his Monaco penthouse, and, for the first time, he traveled without advisors. He went to the city where he was born. He walked the streets with his hood up. He went into the bar where he and Matthew played pool. Nobody recognized him, and that was liberating. He sat at a table, ordered 2 coffees, one for himself and one for his brother. He stayed there for hours, without speaking, just listening. As if Matthew were still telling some bad story, just to make him laugh. Derek began to visit the cemetery every week, not as a ritual of guilt, but as a reminder of what cannot be forgotten. He brought flowers, but he also brought stories. She would tell Matthew about the simple days, about what she had cooked, about a book she had reread. Sitting before the gravestone, he spoke as if his brother were simply there, quiet, listening as he always did. And it was during one of these visits that he made his final decision. The yacht would be sold. With the money, he founded a music school in the neighborhood where they grew up. In the main hall, a picture of Matthew smiling, holding his old Walkman. The plaque at the entrance read, "To the memory of someone who never wanted to be famous. He only wanted his brother to remember his name." The gesture resonated. Newspapers published it. The media praised it. But Derek didn't give interviews. He only said one sentence: "Some legacies aren't measured in figures. They are memories that we refuse to bury." Over time, people began to know him for another reason. Not for the empire he built, but for the courage to acknowledge his mistakes, and to try, even so, to plant some beauty in the damage. Derek didn't rebuild the past, but he built a present that, if Matthew saw it, he would be proud to call home. In the solitude that once crushed him, a new version of himself was born. Less brilliant on the outside, more alive on the inside. Years later, Derek came to be remembered differently. No longer as the yacht man, but as the billionaire who sat in small cafes, talked to strangers, and said that the richest people are the ones who still remember where they came from. He continued to grow financially, but with a difference. Now, every penny had a purpose that didn't fit in a bank account. One night, alone at home, he opened an old photo album. And amidst so many black and white images, he found a letter he never read. It was from Matthew. Short, direct. "If you ever get lost again, come back to where we used to laugh at silly things. I'll always be waiting for you there." Derek cried, not from pain, but from tenderness, because he understood that true love never disappears. It only falls silent until we hear it again. The next day, he wrote a new letter. He put it in his pocket and went to school. There, a child with old headphones was listening to music and smiling. Derek sat next to her, without saying who she was. The girl said, "This sound reminds me of my brother." He smiled, as if finally the cycle had closed. Not all wealth comes from what you build. Some comes from what you refuse to forget.